What's going on, and welcome into the championship weekend edition of the College Football Show presented by AT&T. Treavor Scales, Max Starks, Gary Striewski. We going 3 wide for this edition, and we all here as a family enjoying championship weekend together. I said enjoying. I'm not enjoying any of this.
You're saying that through gritted teeth right now.
Tongue in cheek like a mug.
I'm enjoying watching you enjoy this right now.
Stressful. It is 3rd and goal. Second quarter, LSU driving on the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll keep you updated on that.
It's going to be a long hour for Trev, particularly.
Our job is to keep you caught up on all things past, present, and future going on in the college football space, and we do so by talking a little football off the top. Our very first matchup is the one that everybody was excited about, and it's the one that's on your screen right about now. The SEC Championship. Georgia taking on LSU, and frankly, the game started out as a 6.5-point spread. Injuries abundant for the Georgia Bulldogs. We even saw an LSU player go down as well. But frankly, Max, this was like the game of missed opportunities for the Georgia Bulldogs right off the top, right?
Yeah, right off the top. You know, you look at Jake Fromm taking a deep shot, first play of the game, and cannot haul it in. That was the one thing I was like, it was perfect play calling, just the execution did not come up to live up to the expectations.
We looked at the script like as we were watching those first 10 to 15 plays unfold, Gary, and it was like they're taking shots down the field. They're not scared, even though they're down. Their 2 best receivers eventually went down to their 3 best receivers, and they know they have to lean on the run game, but they weren't going to, right? They still showed LSU that they were willing to take shots, and that was something
they have to match the gas, because that's the only way that, judging by what LSU has done every single game this season, that's the only way they're going to get the upper hand. And this game so far is less about what Georgia is or isn't, and it's more about what LSU consistently is and has proven to us every single game. They're poised.
Yep.
They're methodical, and they don't miss those opportunities that you mentioned off the top. And Joe Burrow is playing just like we anticipated Joe Burrow was going to play, leading his team down the field, making the most out of each one of these drives, and it shows. They're up 3 scores.
Dog has 13 receiving yards. Like, he threw the ball to himself.
It's just do it all.
What more can he do to show you he deserves the Heisman?
Probably win a natty.
He can catch.
It's
just insane what this LSU team has proven to be on a weekly basis. And I think it's nothing but respect to him. But, man, I'm at least surprised that the Bulldogs have been able to sustain drives the way that they have been offensively and defensively, capping them to field goals in some at the end of these drives and being able to keep them out of the end zone for the most part. It's an impressive effort that not many people have been able to do against this LSU Tiger team.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is something that for the Bulldog defense that we were talking about has been so underrated. They have played very strong so far by allowing that. I mean, outside of perfectly placed laser throws to the end zone, the Bulldog defense has kept the middle of the field clear. They pressured Joe Burrow. They can't get him on the ground.
No.
They've done it once so far this game. Everything else has been like a 10-yard gain. He's leading the team in rushing. But other than that, I mean, they've really corralled this team. You haven't seen Chase and Jefferson
get off the way that you're used to them doing. Like, so the big plays haven't exploded the way that they typically have. And as we talk about and gloat about this Georgia defense, they give up 6, right? Like, as I'm sitting here watching it out the corner of my eye.
Chase got some great peripherals.
Listen, dog, I'm sitting here watching it the whole time.
Because you mentioned all of those things, and yeah, we can applaud them, hit them with the golf clap. None of that matters because Georgia knows that this is the end of the line. They have to show out with the last 17 minutes left in this game, or they are going to fall out of the college football playoff, and Oklahoma will likely slide right in.
Yeah.
And the Sooners right now are the biggest LSU fans because they see what Georgia's not doing offensively. And yeah, you were giving them the, attaboys for keeping LSU at least kind of contained.
Right. It was relatively speaking because, again, you can't put up any points your daggone self. And so what exactly are we supposed to do as a committee with you? No, we can't keep you in the top. We can't justify keeping you in the top because, again, it may be a top 4 defense, but it dang sure in the top 4 offense. And for that reason, like you mentioned, Oklahoma probably slides in there. And speaking of, we can probably get to that next highlight because the Oklahoma Sooners earned their way into this college football playoff conversation with a win over Baylor. But let's recap that win because Jalen Hurts, for as impressive of a performance that he had, he was incapable of getting the run game going. He was able to find CeeDee Lamb. Thank goodness he came back for that Sooner offense because otherwise there wasn't a whole lot going for Lincoln Riley and them.
No, we joked about this in the room before the show, is that Jalen Hurts rushing was not as impressive as you would have saw. He was averaging like 1.1 yards a carry, but Stevenson was the guy that allowed for them to have some moves. Brooks, before he got injured, that was the only way they generated offense unless you found CeeDee Lamb, and the defense was just suffocating.
They really were. 23 carries, just to go back to Jalen Hurts, 23 carries, 38 yards. His longest run of the day was 8 yards. But to your point, the defense that the Sooners put up, they were able to get to the quarterback. They created 6 sacks, 7 quarterback hurries, and were just able to make plays when they absolutely needed to.
This one's a little bit of a head scratcher for me because we saw the numbers that CeeDee Lamb put up, 8 catches for 173. Didn't find the offense, but clearly he was a focal point. When they met in Waco a couple weeks ago, he didn't play at all. So it leads me to wonder, how bad would it have been for Oklahoma, let's say, if they didn't have him today? Obviously, we can, play the hypotheticals all day long, but thank God they had him because they clearly needed him. It was another overtime squeaker.
Without question, right? Like, this offense goes the way that Jalen Hurts does. And if he's able to find CeeDee Lamb, then they're going to be just fine. If they are able to find some semblance of a run game, if he's not able to get it going, then they're fine. But they were challenged by Matt Rule's Baylor Bears team. Like, they were pushed to the brink. And this is Matt Rule, by the way, playing with his third-string quarterback. Charlie Brewer goes down with a concussion. He's done for the second half. He's not playing. They bring in my man's, what's my man's name? Yes, Bohannon comes in. Jerry Bohannon comes in. He can't get anything going. He was like 4 for 15 on the day with 56 yards. And then a true freshman comes in and starts dropping dimes. Had a 71-yard touchdown, an 85-yard completion. Like, they were scrapping it together as far as the Baylor Bears go on offense, but the Sooners showed a lot of susceptibility in that defensive backfield that you have to be concerned about if you're the committee and looking at putting them in this college football playoff.
Well, it's a big concern because at one point Zeno was 2 of 3 for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's unheard of. If you're supposed to be an elite defense, you're supposed to be holding guys, especially true freshmen, third-string quarterbacks. I have only thrown 3 career passes, 2 low numbers, and they were just giving up big plays. So that's a problem, especially when you think of the other 3 in the playoff. Assuming Clemson, assuming Ohio State, assuming LSU. That's scary.
Without
That's a one and done.
But let me ask you this, Max. What about the recency benefit that Matt Rule and Baylor had? Because they saw these guys November 16th, so they're really fresh in their mind. The tape is fresh. The plays are fresh. So we kind of have to give a little bit of credit to Baylor just understanding who Oklahoma is. And maybe the other teams that are going to be in this college football playoff don't necessarily have that advantage because they didn't see them twice within a month span.
I say yes, but then I also say that Baylor also gave a 25-point lead in the second half. And I think that's more so the indictment. And you didn't have CeeDee Lamb in that, and now you do have CeeDee Lamb. I thought Baylor answered appropriately, but it's still a concern because we haven't seen the defense dominate at any point this season for any of their signature wins. And I think that's what makes it really tough to say, hey, these guys have gotten it because you had an opportunity to prove yourself because you have seen Baylor in the last 2 or 3 weeks. You knew what their offensive weapons were, and you still couldn't really shut them down.
Yes, you had full tape, all the tape you could ever ask for. Every last example of being able to scheme up, right, like that offense. And it was basically, you saw on the back end, there were times where guys were just running bare booty naked, and I'm not entirely sure why no one decided. Yes, actually, yeah, we'll just say yes.
I missed that part.
It's not buck booty, though.
To be clear. But it's just a matter of, like, that defense has really shown a propensity to give up big plays. Like, and it's just completely it's something that it's a concern for that defense going forward, and that offense showed that they may not necessarily be able to get it clicking on every single week.
You know what I will say, though? As a novice college football fan who is going to parachute in and watch these semifinals games, they want that. No, I'm not saying that I am, right? But the people were like, oh, you know what? The college football national finals are right now. They're on network TV. I'm going to They want those big gangbuster plays. They want the 70 yards. They don't want defense to be 9-6, grinding it out. So actually, this is a benefit for the college football committee saying, you know what, we're gonna get some viewers and they're gonna like these high scores.
For one game.
For one game. And the national championship, a whole other story because then Oklahoma's not gonna make it, and here we go.
Oklahoma wins their 5th straight Big 12 title. It goes into overtime, but they get it done. And so again, I think we're looking at a playoff team when it comes down to it, because again, LSU is knocking on the doorstep, and I believe they actually just scored. But to rewind a little bit, the other hopeful for this college football playoff.
That's confirmed.
Was, yes.
That is another score.
33-3. Another playoff hopeful was the Utah Utes, and emphasis on was because Oregon came out in this thing and dominated. We expected the Utes to be the physical team up front, the ones that were going to mash defensively, run the ball down your throat offensively. But that's what Oregon did. That's what the Ducks did in this one.
They said, hey, hold my beer for a second. Let me take your playbook. And executed it to perfection. Justin Herbert, the all-world quarterback who's going to be a top-round pick, only threw for like 154 yards. But the ground game, that's what really did it. And the Utah defense, we heard so much, hey, this defense, when it's tested, it's going to stack up against anybody. You give up 37 points to Oregon and all those rushing yards, and it's like, okay, popcorn muscles.
I'm glad you said that. CJ Verdell actually comes in as our AT&T best performer. That run game that Max was touching on, we got plenty of footage of just how effective it was. CJ goes for 208 yards on 18 carries, had 3 touchdowns. Utah, by the way, only allowed 4 rushing touchdowns all season entering this game. So 75% of the season total to that point was racked up by one man on Friday night against the Utes. And it's just about that physical offensive line play that the Ducks exhibited.
Exactly, 7 for 7. I mean, when he got into the end zone. But the offensive line, the other thing I loved about it, the offensive line at the point of attack, the double team blocks, moving to the second level to get linebackers covered up, they did an amazing job. It's chock full of seniors and upperclassmen, and these guys know how to work. As you see on the screen there, showing these blocks. I mean, the man, look at that.
Nice little split zone to the crib.
Why not hit that hole? Guys? Yeah, exactly.
Take them both out. Guys, get the 2 knockdowns on one play.
This is a tale as old as time. Death, taxes, and the self-cannibalization of a Pac-12 team ruining the shot of cracking the CFP top 4 for another Pac-12 team.
But I will say, too, though, right, like this win for Oregon and Paul Cristobal's team, I think we get so in the mud with the college football playoff discussion and that it's the only set of bowl games that matter, right? But, like, if you saw Oregon after that game.
Let's go.
They're going to the Rose, and they're amped about it. And reasonably so. They should be absolutely jacked up about
beautiful
it.
This time of year.
Oh, yeah, it's not bad.
Well, the history and the pageantry that is the Rose Bowl, you know, you think about that going into the Coliseum, all the roses everywhere, Big Ten, Pac-10. Old days. It's now. I know it's the Pac-12, but back then, that's what you looked forward to. And I'll never forget when I was in college. We were number 2 in the country. We had a game in 2001. We had a potential to go play in that game because that's where the BCS National Championship was going to be.
Yes.
We lose the game to Tennessee. I was heartbroken because I was like, man, how awesome would it be to go to the Rose Bowl as an SEC team because you don't get that opportunity. So I was so mad and sad when we didn't make it. But, I mean, it's just one of those things like when you say college football playoffs or you say bowl games, Rose Bowl is one of the first things that comes to your mind.
Did you already have the picture in your mind, you with the rose in your mouth, be like, no, this flick is gonna. This was before Instagram. You're like, yo, this flick is gonna be fire on this disposable camera. Actually,
my Kodak Fun Saver. You gotta reel it around there.
Yo, when you used to get off the bus for the bowl games, did you get handed those and hey, take pictures of these memories that develop when we go to Kroger?
When we get to the pharmacy that does the 1 hour photo, we'll give it to.
This picture came out real nice.
Immediate results. Immediate results. Wow. Ain't nothing quite like the sunset at Pasadena, though, when they kick that game off at 3:30 local time, and that sun gets to setting right around halftime, and it turns into a night game effectively. But just to kind of update the folks that are out there, we are watching quite the contest between Cincinnati and Memphis, by the way. 29-24 in the fourth quarter. This is for the AAC championship. Memphis just went up. 1:14 left in that one. And this is for a chance to play in the Cotton Bowl as the highest ranked group of 5 teams. So again, Memphis up 29-24 with a late score, 1:14 remaining. They're kicking off now to the Cincinnati Bearcats. And I think, look, these two teams met just last week, right? Like and duked it out. They just seen these jokers. And so it was a battle for home field advantage in this contest. And Memphis is taking advantage even despite a weird start to this one.
Yeah, I mean, Memphis, it's been a game where we saw them. They are a great run game team. I mean, between Gainwell and Taylor, they dominated the ground. But Brady White took the run and was doing it through the air early on, and then they kind of went back to their run game and got back to their roots and actually took the lead from that point. And I think that was kind of the difference. But Memphis has been tremendous this year. I know the one time on game day, they stubbed their toe against SMU. But other than that, they've run through everybody. This is one of the top rushing teams in the country. And so it's going to be amazing to see that. And for Mike Norvell, you know, you got one last opportunity before you take that FSU job.
And you know, and what's so interesting about that, I kind of actually want to touch on that because Norvell came out and said, like, nah, I ain't even addressing with my players. I was like, nah, we ain't even going to talk about that. That's rumors. You seen it on Twitter? It's probably going to happen, but I ain't going to address it with you. Like, I thought that was so interesting.
I did not take the job.
Right.
You got some of your iMac? You good?
I never said no.
I got some eye drops.
I did not confirm nor deny.
I'm just happy for the fan base because you go to the Cotton Bowl, you talk about one of those like pageantry games. I know they don't actually play it in the Cotton Bowl facility that's at the Texas State Fairgrounds right there, but they play it in AT&T Stadium. I actually went to the 2012 Cotton Bowl when it was Johnny Manziel against Boomer, 100,000 people, and you talk about pageantry and crazy and electric. And for a Memphis team who probably hasn't experienced anything like that in the last clip of time, that's be a good little shot for them.
Oh, without question. That's one of those teams that's earned their way into the conversation of one of those New Year's Six Bowls with their performance over the course of the year. You look at Memphis's record, like their 1 losses to that SMU team, and then for Cincy, their 2 losses are to Memphis and Ohio State, right? Like these are 2 really good teams that are getting after it for this American Athletic Conference. So shouts to them, and we'll keep you updated.
Yeah, and Mike Oresco would be upset with you right now, the AAC commissioner, because they prefer non-autonomous 5.
Perfect.
There you go, Trev.
Or 6.
My apologies.
Trev,
The
Trevor, talk to
AAC.
Mike Oresco. Make sure you don't say group of 5.
Non-autonomous 5. Non-autonomous
Max put you
5.
on blast on the internet.
Hey,
Shit
shut
like
up,
that.
right.
Yikes.
Roasted. It is what it is. It is what it is.
It's game time.
Let's go ahead and check in on the Sun Belt, the Fun Belt, effectively. App State, number 21, taking on Louisiana. And early on, we thought this one was going to be a runaway from App State, and for good reason. These jokers jumped on the Raging Cajuns quick, fast, and in a hurry. Darrington Evans scored 3 touchdowns and picked up the game's MVP for the 2nd straight season.
Okay.
The Mountaineers go from FCS to FBS and have now won 4 straight Sun Belt titles. So they were not a game when they were at the FCS level. They continue to not be a game at the FBS level. So shouts to the Mountaineers for completing that one.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, App State, let's just face it, that's a team that a lot of Power 5 schools don't want to see on your schedule, especially early in the year. And I think what we were talking about is their only losses was to who? Georgia Southern?
Correct.
Their foe at the FCS level?
Right.
Is the only team that really knows them well, but nobody wants to go to Boone, North Carolina. It's up in the mountains. There's nothing but
Speak
grizzly
for
bears
yourself, Max.
and hooch up there. I mean, that's about it. And you want to go try and take a game up there? Get out of there. I see.
I know, John. I watch A&E. Come on, man. What are you talking about? I watch those shows, man. Listen.
Up there, Boone.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
You know exactly what I'm
This
talking about.
is the College Football Show presented by AT&T. We are here with you on Twitter, YouTube Live, and the ESPN app, getting you right for Championship Saturday. We're closing out a couple of these tilts and getting you right for the next set of tilts. Just to kind of update you again, Memphis and Cincinnati getting after it right now. About 38 seconds left there. But to check back in on this LSU-Georgia game, it's getting out of hand before,
Is it getting
and
bloody?
it is officially out of hand now. Georgia is on offense currently just at the start of the 4th quarter, but 34-3, man. And I think a lot of it has to do with just, again, missed opportunities. Georgia done got hurt all over the field, and it's just, they never had a
Save
chance.
yourselves.
We started this show 18 minutes ago. LSU was up 17 points.
Yes.
18 minutes later, they're now at 31.
Yes.
What happened?
Listen, brother, if I could tell you, I would.
2
I
interceptions and 21 yards rushing. Or is your
Honestly,
leading
what
stat
happened
guy.
to Jake Fromm?
Insane.
I mean, last year we're talking, especially preseason, we're talking about him being a Heisman front runner, this and that, and then slow start. Okay, he'll figure it out, but he hasn't.
Well, listen, more often than not, this is just the way of the world for the Georgia Bulldog fan. We preseason national champs every day all year. Like, that's just how the game goes.
Yeah,
It's like
facts.
when it all unfolds, this is where we end up, right? Like just kind of just disappointment and shame at the end of the season. That's kind of where it always winds up being.
I mean, but y'all have been to 3 straight SEC championship games.
True.
You won 1 of them,
yes,
right?
did win one.
And then you allowed for Tua Tagovailoa to be the greatest thing since sliced bread in
Correct.
college football.
Correct. We
for 4
created
years.
Tua. We can
You
take
did.
that. We can do
hey,
that. Yeah,
you are Dr. Frankenstein to the monster. That's the.
and also revitalize Jalen Hurts' career. on the way to Oklahoma. So why not? We
Exactly. You
come
sent
get
Jalen to
right
the
against
playoffs.
the Georgia Bulldogs. Just come get right against them. That's what Joe Burrow is doing right about now. He's getting right
Joe
against
is
them too.
sealing his stats. That's
Yes,
all it is.
he is.
Sealing his
Solidifying
stats for the Heisman.
himself as that Heisman candidate. He's the one. It feels like far and away. And I even had like somebody jump in on Twitter saying like Jalen Hurts after today's performance should get consideration. And I love Jalen. I think he has one heck of a storyline.
Yeah.
But it's just not with Joe Burrow. 78% completion percentage over the course of a season is insane.
He's going to get consideration, Jalen Hurts, by way of an invitation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Come take this seat and watch
Come watch Joe Burrow get this Heisman. That's what's going to be.
Come watch
essentially what it feels like.
Hang out.
Yeah.
Have some tea.
Nice little weekend
cookies
in New
the
York
back.
City. Yeah.
Exactly. Enjoy going to see Rockefeller Center, see the tree,
beautiful
ice
this time of
skating.
year.
No.
But I think the biggest thing, this is kind of like Deshaun Watson, right? Like you see this great resume, a winner, a guy who can go wherever and has that X factor, has that it, but there's going to be those comets that passed in his orbit that you just can't overcome, like Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
You're just not going to get there. And Joe Burrow is that guy this year where no matter how great you are, even Justin Fields, all the numbers that he's putting up, former Bulldog that went to Ohio State, you can't keep pace with what Joe Burrow's done. It has been systematic, and it has been absolutely fun to watch.
It was the perfect storm for them. Getting Joe Brady at that time, this is his second year sort of really steering that offense, and Joe Burrow having a final command over this as a senior and going out on this note is picturesque. And there was, again, nothing you could do to stop this sort of result for the LSU Tigers. But as they continue to roll on, 34-3, the score right now, and Jake Fromm another incompletion. So that's just how the game goes for your boy. We continue to move on with one more time. All right. We'll check in on the preview portion of this program. Trevor Lawrence getting it greased up for his ACC matchup against Virginia. They are 28-point favorites. Y'all think it's going to be around that margin? No?
No, not even close. Not even close.
So let's get into the nuts and bolts of this ACC championship game that we have between Clemson and Virginia. The way we do that, little today's lesson presented by Dos Equis, and it comes to you courtesy of Dan Orlovsky.
Hey, this is Dan Orlovsky with the College Football Show, and today's lesson is about how Clemson finally clinches their college football playoff spot. Tip number one, Trevor Lawrence is playing the best football of his career, and that's saying a lot in comparison to what he did last year. The biggest thing he's really started to emphasize, valuing the football. And tip number two, watch this Clemson defense, the blitz package from their secondary, all the movement. Watch the confusion that it creates for Bryce Perkins and this Virginia offense. And that's today's lesson.
Thank you very much, Dan Orlovsky, and let's continue talking about this Clemson team because, again, they've been dominant on just about every facet of the game ever since that UNC game that we were a little shaky on them about. They've come to play, and I don't think anybody wants to see them if it comes to them being a 3 seed in this college football playoff.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Like that's why everybody's jockeying for that number 1 seed because they know whoever number 2 is, you might not get to that last game because this Clemson team, face it, they still have not given up a 300-yard offensive performance against them. I don't care who you're playing. You don't give up 300 yards as a defense. You are doing things. And they haven't had to run the gauntlet that the other conferences have had to run because of competition. So they've gotten to rest their guys. And by the way, after that North Carolina game, you found out you had this guy. I don't know if you've heard of him. His name's Travis.
Pretty decent.
Etienne?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah,
You nailed it.
exactly.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Apparently. I mean, now he's been there like 17 years, it feels like, because Clemson's always in the championship game, and you keep hearing his name. But I think that's the other thing. They found their run game. Trevor Lawrence went through his yips early on, but he has been money ever since that game. After that first half of Louisville we were watching.
That was the other one, yep.
And then after that, they have been perfect. And I think that's what's going to be so scary is that anybody who sees this team, they don't want to go up against that defense because they feel like, as confident as you are about your offense, they're going to make you start having some doubts. And that's all they have to cause.
And I'll tell you, too, what they do offensively is so scary. You only touched on Travis Etienne because they have, like, 2 first-round picks at wideout as well, and T. Higgins and Justin Ross that'll go over the top of you. And I was watching College Game Day earlier on ESPN, and what's our boy, Jimbo Fisher out of Texas A&M was talking about him and just how much he tried to scheme up his Texas A&M defense to cover the wideouts. He would roll to one, double them shamelessly, making sure he had them covered. And then he said they just go over the top of you and catch everything. He's like, I sat in film and said, there's nothing you can do about this.
This actually reminds me of last year's situation, which was more of a a micro focus when they made the national championship against Alabama. They're like, Alabama's the greatest team of the century. There's no way that Clemson wins. And obviously Dabo was using that the entire lead up to the national championship game in Santa Clara, and saying, hey, nobody thinks you're going to win this game. You take that micro focus of that game, and it's really been like a macro evolution this season, because since that UNC game, it's been every single week that the detractors have been like, yeah, but look who they're playing. They're playing Wofford. Yeah, they scored 56 points, but who are they playing? Dabo's using that ever since like week 4 now at this point to be like, hey, these guys don't think you deserve to be in it. He did an interview with Steve Levy this morning ahead of the ACC championship game. And he's like, yeah, nobody thinks we should be here. Nobody thinks, we want to be, or not want to be here. But this is going to be just another game for us. And another game for us with Dabo and that stuff on the line generally ends in Clemson's favor. And this is the team that you were saying, Max, that nobody wants to line up with in the playoffs because they're just a different animal when it counts more.
Yeah, 27 games in a row says that all of that.
Yes. Yeah.
And their defense, you drafted 3 of your guys to the first round on your defensive line.
Mm-hmm. And they're still nasty.
You still have a sack-leading defense, and your secondary is even better than it was the year before.
They're a problem in every facet of this game. And and I kind of want to push back on Dabo just a little bit because, like, the whole conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat joint.
That nobody wants him and nobody loves him. And
dog, we gave you a pass for,
poor Clemson.
Yeah, we just kind of, we let y'all ride. We just let y'all ride. I don't understand.
We helped you out.
Correct.
By not putting you on blast.
We did it as a collective disrespectful base saying, yeah, we're going to let you ride, but you shouldn't ride into the top 4 because there's other teams playing better teams that deserve to be in there.
Yeah.
So I got Dabo's back on this one. You're lucky Max is between us right now.
But
he's still up there, though.
That's the thing. Like, he has a seat at the table. What exactly more does he want to be the number 1 ranked team? Because I can't argue you over LSU. I can't argue you over Ohio State.
Stop using valid points.
I just help me, bro.
Clemson Ohio State is going to be a spicy matchup, as I assume it's going to be if LSU.
If that's how it shakes out.
If LSU holds on like this, Ohio State.
Top 4 win, they move into the 1 slot, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. But I think you mentioned Ohio State, and I want to kind of talk about their Big Ten championship that they have tonight at 8 against Wisconsin, a team that they've already seen and already doors this season. It was one of the many dominant performances that they've put on. Do we see a different Wisconsin team? Do we see the same Wisconsin team that we saw against Minnesota that was suffocating from an offensive standpoint, from a defensive standpoint rather? Do we see them get the run game going? Because Jonathan Taylor hasn't shown up against Ohio State, it feels like, in his career.
Yeah, and I think that's the number 1 key. How can we get Jonathan Taylor going? Because if we get Jonathan Taylor going, the pass game opens up. Once they load the box, now we get the one-on-ones we want on the outside. Everybody's not dropping back into zone, but I find that very hard because, like you said, they are swarming, they are fast, and they play lateral speed better than anybody in the country. And you could go with the Penn State approach of run away from Chase Young, but the problem is you got 10 other guys on the field that will hit you just as hard. They're just not as fast off the ball.
Without question.
You know I won't stand for any Jonathan Taylor slander. You know he was my early pick for the Heisman. I saw that dude play in person against Michigan, and he was an absolute animal, but there's a difference between Michigan and Ohio State. You're talking about just the lateral quickness, and I was in Michigan last week, and even though Chase Young didn't show up in the stat sheet, he affected every single play. So no matter what side of the field they're going to try to get Jonathan Taylor active in, it's still going to be an issue.
Buckeyes have 3 Heisman candidates on their roster. That's kind of what it feels like.
Wait, who's the third one?
J.K. Dobbins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I assumed it was.
Right. No,
that's who I assumed it was. But
You're good. But we have a trophy ceremony going down, so I kind of want to rewind, and that means we're going back to this AAC title game that just went down, just went final, as a matter of fact. There's a whole lot of blue and silver confetti, and I think we can kind of check in on the Memphis Tigers and how they performed against Cincinnati. They get the 29-24 win. They, in all likelihood, will be your Cotton Bowl representative from the non-autonomous 5. Did I get that right, Max?
There we go. That sounds great.
Non-autonomous 5 representative in the New Year's 6 Bowls. And the Memphis head coach is headed to Florida State, evidently, on the way out with the win.
He's headed to Tally Ho.
Hey,
after he makes a stop in Texas.
Correct.
After he goes to Frisco.
Quick little,
He's just going to stay south and stay on the I-10 and just take it east.
I'll tell you what, man, like the non-autonomous 5 coaches, like when they win, they have a good season, win a big, get a championship, win a bowl game, and then they move on. Then Scott Frost being the example of that at UCF.
Yes.
Right, he goes, hopefully things start out a little bit better from man's down to Florida State.
got paid.
But yeah,
You got paid. You just need me to get you 6 wins a year? I can do that.
And Clemson's still in our division, right? Y'all know that, right?
Yo.
So I just wanted to make sure we had that. Yeah,
Exactly.
So we're clear. But that is your American Athletic Conference champion, the Memphis Tigers. But we have a little fun to get to. Speaking of animals.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Here we
get
go.
your mind right. The top plays portion of our program, we can't say holy bleep, so we say holy cow. We had to get ourselves situated a little bit. Gary,
Our scoreboard. We got our scoreboards.
and scorecards.
We got our scoreboards.
Ready to go.
Scorecards, rather.
First play for holy cow. It is something that it's not anything to do with actual football plays.
Oh,
It's
okay.
at the halftime break. So Mike Gola Jr. was on hand to kind of coach us through this one. Jaslyn Rodriguez gets the win in the tuition challenge. That Dr. Pepper, the football through the cylinder type deal, right? And she absolutely romped her opponent. Like Tegan didn't have a chance.
Or Tegan.
But chest passing. How do we feel about this, fellas? Like, you good with the chest pass? Because I'm so good with it. I gave it 100. Because she's walking away with 100 racks. Yeah. So I feel obligated to do that. 100 for 100. It just made sense to
Symmetry makes sense.
me. So, all right. So, go ahead. My score is 100. Your scores, Max,
Go ahead,
you wanna go
Max.
first?
I'm going to go 98.
Okay.
I don't know if you can even see that.
98?
But that's 98.
Just trust-
there it is.
There it
You
is.
showed up a little bit.
It's 98. The only reason why, because Jaslyn was not crying, snotty.
You wanted a
over
little more-
excited. I needed more emotion.
Okay.
I mean, I was glad to see the 2 dimples, like she smiled.
Eventually.
But other than that, I was like, you just got you're debt free when you leave college.
Listen.
That can leave
That's
you
a
with
huge deal.
That can
She
leave
was
you
like-
with a deer in the headlight kind of feeling.
That's what I was
So,
thinking.
yeah,
Being
exactly.
stunned.
Did you say 100?
I can't conceptualize 100 racks
Thousands?
being handed to me. I don't.
By Dr. Pepper.
Right, just
Exactly.
What's it like?
23 flavors.
Can you tell us?
Scholarship.
All right,
Scholarship.
I'm going with a 99.
Okay.
Because listen to Mina Kimes' ESPN Daily Podcast. She actually just went in depth with quarterbacks having different grips on a football. This is no different. So, a different grip on a football, don't care as long as it works. The only reason I didn't give her a hundo is because we saw that it worked, it just didn't work every time.
Fair.
So if you set the bar with that kind of excellence, I want you to be flawless. But 99 is still pretty good.
Pretty
and
dang
I would have
good,
probably been a deer in the headlights too if somebody decided to hand me 100 racks.
100 G's just
just
for
that.
throwing the football through the hoop.
In your hand.
Shout out to Jaslyn.
99.
Yeah.
Next
Shout out
play.
to Jaslyn.
Next play is one I'm not fond of at all.
God, we really doing this to you, Trevor?
Yeah, dog.
Wow.
They hate me. It's crazy.
Even the camera,
I'm not providing commentary.
even the camera
Where's
guy
he
was
at?
like, "This game's over. What am I doing?" Oh my, it's not over.
It's not over.
trash. It's all trash. You can see the score or whatever have you. It's just awful.
Listen,
I'm just so mad. I'm mad all
Watch
over
it
again.
one more
I have not seen this play since it happened. I haven't seen it since it happened.
this is now your 3rd time seeing the play.
Wow.
God,
Doing
bro.
this to my
Look at
guy.
that. Oh,
Harvard losing
Tip.
on a Hail Mary.
Max, what you got?
Get it.
This, dog, we were about to beat the number from 2014 in all FCS. If I could give it any lower than this, it wouldn't, I wish there was negative rating.
Wow, Max.
Found the lowest one on there.
Yeah, oh yeah. Nah, if I could give that a negative, I absolutely would. See, wow. I'm sitting next to a hater. That's crazy.
Double.
I got
Double.
a
Max,
hater
explain.
next to me.
Okay, you know why? It's because Harvard rescinded their offer to me back in my sophomore year of high school.
They pulled your offer.
Yeah, they did, and you know what? I'm fine.
You know
because of
what?
it,
You
'cause
know what?
I became a blue chip.
That's fair.
After that,
That's
but-
fair. I get it.
Yeah,
Like,
so
who am
I can't really. Now, granted, my wife does work for Harvard.
Okay.
So I have to kind of be in support from that perspective. But this is a personal situation right now. This is me. I have to go back to 16-year-old Max for this one, and that's why it gets a hundo from Dartmouth.
So, do you remember who recruited you out of there?
I
Any
can't even
calls?
tell
No?
you the name.
Oh, I was just
I don't
curious.
remember that name because he probably ain't there.
I would
anymore.
black that out too. You know what? That's fair. That's totally fair. Get what you got, bro.
I refuse to
you ain't-
acknowledge this score because I'm not going to do that to my boy. Trevor, you know I rock with you, and I'm not going to do
I
that.
appreciate
I'm
that.
not giving it a
This
score.
is the one
that hurts
person
me just as much
that's
as it
actually
hurts
ride
Trevor.
with me on this
This
show.
is the
It's
wrong
crazy.
sandwich to be
Because
in the middle
Harvard,
of
you know,
right now. Just
they
put
sent
that
us
out
some
there.
swag too.
This is the Fried College Football Show presented by AT&T. Our next one comes out of the Nebraska Cornhusker program.
Oh, see, I like this game.
Yeah, I know you. This was
I
one you
remember
were a
this
fan
one.
of.
I remember
Yeah.
this one.
Tip drill off 2 Maryland defenders. Boy, they started off hot and kind of fell off, huh? The Terrapins?
Say the least. I mean, the head slaps.
Yeah, dog.
They was knocked unconscious.
Slapped it out of himself. That's crazy. My score for this one, 83. Shout out to Harry Douglas. We'll hear from him in a little bit.
That's right.
Had to give him that score because I felt like Harry Douglas can make a play like that pretty easily.
Sure thing.
That was my logic behind that score.
thing.
You know, I didn't go like actual like rubric this time. I just had a reason for everything.
Of course.
Right? Like that was
personal.
So Max, what you got on this one?
I'll go with the 89. I'll go with the Matt Spaeth on this one.
Matt Spaeth.
Exactly.
Good
Go
one.
Gophers.
Very good one. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Minnesota.
Yeah,
on,
no
on
doubt.
the rise. So yeah,
Scheme
it gets 89.
I'm going with the 95. Who's your favorite 95 teammate?
I can't even remember who's.
All right, cool. I'm going with 95. Just make sure it's good because my logic behind this one, for as long as I've been watching college football, Nebraska has always been a wishbone, power eye, running team, and they don't throw and they don't catch. So to catch a ball that was tipped 3 times, that takes some skill when you know that you're going to get but maybe 6 looks a game. So that's a 95.
Oh, Eric Crouch approach.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, Eric, what you're going to do is you're just going to run the read option and just try to break it off.
Left, read option right, read option middle. Just do that, Eric.
And
That is the understanding that
He ran
you
that
should
to a
have.
Heisman.
If
So
you are,
it worked out.
It's productive.
It
It's
worked
productive. This last one here, my man Adrian McGee out of the LSU program.
Oh, I remember this one.
Dog.
I remember
Got
this.
2 for 1 on one play.
Yep.
Caught the celly in between. Man's just bodying people. Hold that. I'm gonna stare at you for a little bit. And when your boy try to chase, we'll knock him out too. That's worth 100. Like that's a legitimate 100 for me. There's no logic behind that
There's
other
no
than
argument.
man, this is a boss. So like that, I don't. And Max, you an offensive lineman, dog. Like if you don't award this 100, I'm gonna have to we gonna have to G-check you or something because like
I
that's
didn't do 100.
Ooh.
No, I did. I stole another number from the 50 and carried it over to the 100
Okay.
to give me 1,000.
Harvard didn't let this guy in?
Exactly.
Look at that
You see
math.
that? Look at that. That's carrying math. My daughter's doing that right now in first grade. I learned that. 1,000. Listen, as an offensive lineman, when you get a chance to dump one,
yes.
you get to glorify yourself and reminisce on the love we had by me doing that. And then I get to then go back and get 2 times, the 2 times, and I get to celebrate. Doesn't happen. That's a holy grail.
It's a beautiful thing.
After that, go play lotto.
Double tap with the. Why do I have to follow the Super Bowl champion lineman? Can I borrow that real quick?
Yeah, here you go. Here you go, right here. Actually,
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and give this 1,000 as well because do you think I'm crazy? You think I'm gonna give this anything less when a Super Bowl champion right here? Just explain why that deserves the highest score possible. Not even on the Richter scale, and he just gave it to him.
It just makes sense, and these next plays just don't make sense. Bruh is what the name of the segment is. And this one actually isn't a play. Your boy fell victim to my segment.
I saw this and I can't even believe he did it. I can't believe he did.
But, I mean, he a
What?
man that
Man
pays
of
his
his word.
debts. Yeah,
Man of his
man that
word.
pays his debts.
Gotta
Tom
be honest
Brady,
about it.
welcome into Bruh. This is,
Wowzers.
yeah, this is what happens when you get ran through. Michigan man got to hold up the H out of OHIO. He and his teammates, Nate Ebner, John Simon,
Yeah.
all had to, Chase Winovich, yep, all had to hold up the Ohio.
I ain't gonna lie
OHIO.
though. TB12 looking good in that red. I'm just saying.
Watch it.
I'm just saying.
Because he wouldn't appreciate you saying that.
He wouldn't
dog.
appreciate
He
you saying
wouldn't
that. Just because
appreciate
you got
saying
red
that,
don't mean
dog.
y'all matching twinsies.
Listen,
and
the
stuff right
Patriots
now.
got red in their uniforms.
But yeah, no, but that's a different. That's like that
Accent red.
scarlet. You don't want the.
Yeah.
You can't tell me look good.
I'm shocked. I know that they had to do that because obviously the Ohio State players in the locker room were going to chirp them until the end of days. But that's big. That's a big bet to pay off.
Listen,
Yeah,
like
that's
not
huge.
those.
That's you and Georgia gear.
They don't
right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what
Precisely.
that is.
Yeah.
Can't
That's
happen.
precisely what it is. Our next bruhs come from. We're gonna recap. We're gonna revisit some of the very best
Yeah.
that we had all
Oh
year.
yeah, this guy.
Yeah, dog.
Yes.
Yeah, dog. Like I don't know who is on Louisville's coaching staff, but they ain't got a lick of sense. They don't. They ain't
one.
one
Look
of
at
them.
that.
Why are you getting in a fight with somebody with full gear? I know you just playing
Look at-
or
you're
whatever,
grabbing
but I'm not
everybody.
entirely sure he's playing. I don't know what's going on.
No,
Man's-
that's not playing. Look at that face right now.
Yeah,
That
that's-
is the face of a serial killer.
Right around the
That's out on parole.
Not just that, but everything that he's doing.
Yeah.
Penalty, face mask, penalty.
15 yards. 15 yards everywhere. Helmet off on the field. Another 15.
And I get it.
Targeting. I think he had a targeting call.
Oh
against
yeah,
his own
definitely. He
team.
definitely found some like head to helmet because it wasn't helmet to helmet.
Yes.
Like he head to helmet infractions all over the place. Man was bleeding from his mouth and everything. Because we need you to be saying, you got to call this stuff. Like, let us go
You
bananas.
can't be concussed while we're
Correct.
trying to call the right play.
Because now,
This is
situation
running
of
out
football
oxygen.
out the
He's
window.
screaming his lungs out.
It's all zero. He's at all-time low.
Yeah, he
That's
got
what it
to
is.
chill out. He got to chill out for real.
Yeah.
Penn State, we go to the Big Ten for our next bruh moment. And I was actually excited about my man, Sean Clifford. Like, I was impressed by him because I didn't know the song that was playing. We were trying to figure it out when they were playing this game the first time. But this one here,
Was it Elvis Presley?
I need me some with some bop in it. No.
watch it. Right. Watch it. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what this fan was doing. That's the one that kind of
I
upset
have
me.
no clue. Oh.
Sean did not upset me. I was very happy.
Yeah, you got to have a little swag. Pre-game warm-up, you're trying to mentally get yourself in the zone. You hope that the stadium you go to has the right soundtrack mix.
Yes.
Because that was one of the things, like when Coach Cowher, when I was with the Steelers, a little suspect. You got some 80s hairband classics,
Right.
a couple of love power ballads.
Listen to some REO Speedwagon.
REO Speedwagon. Let's go with Night Ranger, guys.
Yeah.
Night Ranger really gets going. But then when Mike T came in, Mike Tomlin,
Yep.
That's
Switched up
That's when
quite
you
a
know
bit.
that Southern
Quite
mix
a bit,
came in.
yeah.
A little bit of Outkast.
Why not?
A little Drizzy.
Why not?
And then you get hyped, so you're in the zone, so you're gonna bob your head.
That's a beautiful thing, right? Like we used to throw people off. They play Shipping Up to Boston, like every other Boston franchise plays pregame. That was like the one.
Let's keep it Dropkick Murphys in
Dropkick
business.
Murphys.
Without
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
Boston
song.
sports franchise.
They get residuals like crazy.
Like,
Every
without
single time
question,
they
for
play.
loyalties.
Yeah.
Being a movie.
Without question. We're gonna actually stick with Penn State for this next one. For this next bruh moment.
Nope.
This is so perfect.
Let my man live right here.
Hey man, shout out. My man Isaac up in the control room said, "Do it for Lil Saint." Like, what's that? You got served.
There it is. I mean, he is living his best life in this moment right
It's
now.
perfect.
What is he holding in his hands is what I want to know. Are those like some tall boys or
You know
something?
what? That's
I think
can't
that's
even
what gave
tell.
him the courage to dance like that in the rain by himself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You do that,
Is
man.
like a four locals?
Yeah. Four locals. You wouldn't be standing and dancing like that, Max.
no, that is the opposite of content.
down,
the opposite of content. But we're gonna take a minute to collect ourselves because this next bro moment just deserves a full SOT treatment. We're just
here
gonna
we
let
go.
you listen in on this one.
Let's go.
He's so strong. He's so strong. Did y'all get that? Please.
Let's go.
Josh Collinsworth comes in here half-stepping to open the ACC Network's college football weekend, and his offensive lineman castmate. He came in there and probably you got to know what you're walking into. You got to go more up than out
Yeah,
when
it's
you do that.
always an up movement because you need your feet to land firmly on the ground. When you go out, your legs kick behind you.
Right.
And that's why you don't see that many offensive linemen getting the
involved in
double
the-
jump, the bruh tag.
Correct.
We call it because they know that linemen are very dense. And
Correct.
if we get in the air, we go up, we come right back down. When you come up and out, you fly backwards. It's just like Jeff.
It's
And
physics.
he got semi-concussed because he definitely hit his head
Oh, he was
on
all
that
up
back
on the
wall.
Oh yeah.
And then he
felt
got
very
picked up. He
legitimate.
couldn't even feel his legs.
No.
But you gotta play
Everything
it
below
cool.
the waist.
But you gotta play it cool.
You on TV.
You're on
you
TV,
gotta
like,
ride out.
nah, that
I'm
didn't
straight.
hurt.
I'm
Just
straight.
commando
Yeah.
crawl
so
off
bad.
the
Wits it
screen,
out.
arm over arm.
These are solid mass. You can't run at them without expecting something bad to happen to you physically.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that is the bruh of the year, without question.
Bruz of the year.
Yeah.
How about the man gimme that's of the year?
We can do that.
Which are the best catches of this season, whether it's on a Thursday, some action, Saturday. Let's just show you some of the best catches that went down of the day leading up. Here we go. Let's get into it. We're starting with Tyquan Thornton with the hands. Oh yeah, there you go. Everything in slow motion is better. It just is.
Oh, 1000%.
With the cradle catch, especially too. That's a lot more difficult than people think because you're catching something that's coming down at you. You have to make sure that you have the presence of mind to like not let the ball fall through that gap
yeah.
and hit the ground and then it being
That's the drill, though. That's the drill, though, man. It's too bad that the Baylor Bears lost that one. But yeah, shout out to my man Thornton there.
So that was one from today. Now
Yep.
let's recap some of them. Some of the best, man, give me that, from the season. And we start, actually, we're showing another Baylor game. Baylor, Iowa State, Brock Purdy intercepted by Baylor linebacker
Hey!
Jordan Williams. Getting the foot down, we saw the finesse. Here we go.
I mean,
The big fella with the toe tap.
Yeah, dog.
shout out to the pedicurists.
That's NFL good too. Man got 2 feet down.
They kept them toes in play. That's Santonio Holmes-esque.
That's too
for a
good for
Super
Sunday.
Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah,
yeah.
I did see that against
Exactly.
the Cardinals.
That's right.
Fitz
Boom.
still playing. Here we go.
I know.
All right, we
Legend.
got another Purdue catch here. Wide receiver David Bell is what we're going to see next.
Eh.
Here we go. David Bell, the acrobatics.
See,
See,
yeah.
he fell
sir.
forward in traffic and then had to adjust to make this catch.
I mean, the body control.
Yeah.
Man fell down, got back up, and dove out the snag down. Like, that's
Exactly.
next level dedication, next level hand-eye coordination.
Not just
Hey.
that, but he caught it behind him.
Right.
The ball was already behind him.
Fall south, end up north.
Yeah, there it
That's
is.
essentially what
There
happened.
it is. There it is.
Right there. Give me that.
Physics lessons, math lessons, more
Geography.
science. Harvard didn't let this guy.
I know.
Listen, we're gonna revisit
Daggone
that
shame.
topic later.
Daggone shame.
All right, another
Could've been
man. Give me
alumni.
that other season. San Jose's Bailey Gaither caught it
Oh yeah.
on
No,
his
this
knees over the back of the Army defender.
that was so hard.
That's a 2-for-1.
Yeah, this one was hard. He like hugged him and let him know he was about to style on him.
Like, listen, I
And
love you,
then
but
let me
I
make
need
this
that.
play right quick.
I need all that.
Excuse me.
4 and 5.
That literally had all 3 elements of what would be standalone a great catch over the back of the defender,
Yep.
from a weird position, not stable on your feet, from
Yep.
your knees, and one-handed.
Right. Had it all. Like that's an
trifecta.
undefeated. That's catch of the year worthy. Like
San Jose
that's what.
State doing it.
Yeah.
Man, give me that. We got 2 more to show you.
Let's get to it.
Here we go. Oh, actually, one more. Liberty's one-handed grab. Oh, God.
Oh yeah. In
Rutgers
stride.
not doing much right
And that's
here.
6'2".
Liberty wide receiver Antonio Gandy Golden with the golden catch. It was there. I
Look at
took it.
just getting.
First of all, that was PI.
That was PI for like 25 yards down the field, and then like no, still mine.
And I'm
Still
going to
mine.
venture to guess, just because it makes the story better,
Yeah.
that his left hand is his non-dominant hand.
Yeah, let's
right-handed.
assume.
All
Let's
the kids are practicing that anyway.
Yeah.
But left hand, that's your non-dominant hand. You got a joker pulling on you from the back.
Oh,
and
yeah.
not only do you catch it one-handed and you make the college football show, but one of the best catches of the year. Man, give me that. Look, even the computer says it.
Man got the branding every day.
Double give me that.
I respect the ever-loving mess out of that. As we kind of open the discussion back up to this college football playoff and what we have going leading into our Final Four that will be revealed tomorrow. We have Heather Dinich joining us here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. And Heather, as we see this SEC championship play out the way many may have expected it to, likely would have been closer in most people's opinions, but LSU proves to be just a very complete team. What are we going to do with that 4th spot, in your opinion, in the eyes of the committee?
I think the committee has it very, very easy. They go with Oklahoma, the Big 12 champ, for that 4th spot. To me, guys, the debate is going to be who's number 1. I mean, you said it. LSU just absolutely crushed Georgia, outplayed them in all phases of the game. Let's see what Ohio State does, but LSU resume-wise and eye test right now certainly making the case to unseat the Buckeyes for that top spot.
I think that quality win in Georgia over the number 4 team absolutely leapfrogs them, for me at least, over Ohio State once again. It's just a matter of the resume stacking that you do. When it comes to what the committee is going to look at with Clemson's performance tonight, what are they looking for out of the Tigers?
I think just another dominant win, which is what we've seen since they squeaked by North Carolina. Clemson has been winning by an average of like 50 points per game. As long as they win, I think that they're in. If they lose, it could be a real head scratcher for the committee, because that's the only chance that Clemson has to show the committee they can beat a ranked opponent this year. And we're talking about number 23, 3-loss Virginia. So, if they don't win, I think, I don't know, it's up for debate. It depends on what Ohio State, Wisconsin does. But if Ohio State wins and Clemson loses, I don't know. They can still sneak in there without a win, but I think it's not a guarantee.
When you look at the Big Ten, Ohio State and Wisconsin, a team that Ohio State has already whooped up on once this season, how is the committee then going to value that win should they get it over the Badger team?
Well, it's another top 10 win for their resume, obviously, but it comes on a day when LSU beat their number 4 team. Those resumes are so comparable that this can also come down to eye test for the Buckeyes, but they've also been winning convincingly. One of the things that has separated Ohio State, though, from LSU in the eyes of the committee is the defense. So what does Chase Young do in this game? Remember, he didn't have a sack against Michigan. Still one of the best players in the country, but I think if Ohio State looks like it does in Ann Arbor against its rival, it's going to be really tough for them to decide who's number one because they looked really good last week against Michigan.
Yeah, and Heather, what do you think that point total looks like for Ohio State? Say they want to win and to keep the LSU team from actually getting the number 1 spot. What does that victory have to look like? I mean, is there a point total? I know it has a high point total, but what is that victory? How much does the margin of victory have to be?
I think it's double digits, obviously, but comparable to what we saw LSU do to Georgia, whatever the final score was there. I think that's probably the only way to really fairly compare it. But on the flip side, again, I go back to the defense. How do they handle Jonathan Taylor? Because if you look at LSU's defense, which was under the microscope by the committee, what they did against Swift and on the ground and in the first half, they shut Georgia down. Now, granted, they were depleted, especially at the wide receiver position, but Wisconsin is not shy about what they do. They're going to line up, they're going to run that ball. And if they can slow down Jonathan Taylor, then I think that would be very impressive.
When we look at Oklahoma and what they were able to pull off today, but I think they're still susceptible on the defensive end. How then is the committee supposed to assess that Sooner team, knowing how susceptible they are to the big play and just the holes that they have specifically in the defensive backfield?
Well, I think one of the things at this point in the season is it comes down to winning your conference championship. And I know there are a lot of people out there who seem to think that doesn't matter anymore because we've seen teams get in, Alabama and Ohio State, without even winning their own division. But 17 of the past 20 semifinalists have been conference champions. So to me, it's as simple as Oklahoma beating another top 10 team in Baylor, winning the Big 12, and with Utah losing and Georgia losing, that just opened the door and kicked it down for the Sooners to move into that 4th spot. It should really be a very easy decision for the committee.
Yeah, they really have it easy, essentially, with the way things that worked out. We were all rooting for chaos. I don't know about you. I know you have long days when you have to stand. Did they give you a chair yet, Heather, to sit on, like when you're waiting on them to debate things out?
That's so funny. I walked into the room with the committee today, and I said, "Where's my chair?" I said that to Paul Bowman.
First order of business.
And where's my chair? This is not fair.
Totally fair. We saw also that you had like the lucky chair. Can you tell us a little bit about the lucky chair that you saw, that you figured out over the last couple of days with these conference championships playing out?
Yeah, so on Friday night, they were watching the Pac-12 championship game, and Rob Mullins, the committee chair, Oregon's athletic director, went out into the next room adjacent to where they eat their meals, and there's these big leather chairs, and he plopped down and watched the Pac-12 title game out there with some of the committee members, and they won. And so Joe Castiglione, Oklahoma's athletic director, today says, you know what, I'm going to try the same thing. I'm going to sit in that chair too. So he picked it, they won as well, and those 2 committee members were certainly very happy. Also recused when those teams are talked, but happy about the lucky chair.
Elle Duncan joining us here live down there in Dallas with the College Football Playoff Committee. We appreciate you joining us here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T.
Thanks, guys.
So coming up here, we are rolling along right here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. And can you remind me what we got next here, Marissa? Oh, we can talk a little Heisman. Why not? Yeah, I think that sets the table well because at this point, we're kind of seeing things shake out. Joe Burrow, yet another dominant performance. We'll check on his line later. Right now, they're up 37-10 on Georgia, just about less than, am I seeing less than a minute remaining in that contest?
56 and ticking.
Oh,
it's a wrap.
Yeah,
They're
so it's
winning by
essentially a
27.
wrap. Joe, I think, has been pulled from the game, but I think he's the front runner without question after a performance like this.
Not only a front runner, he's going to win it. Like there's going to be no suspense, none of that. I mean, obviously they're going to invite a handful of players, but Joe Burrow, from the time that he entered the Heisman conversation, has done nothing to take away any of the merits of why he deserves it. He's only been compounding that resume.
Yes, and so then what do you do with the finalist pool? Like, what does your finalist pool look like then?
Well, I think barring anything crazy happening, I think Justin Fields gets the invitation because I think what Justin Fields has done with Ohio State has been fantastic.
Video game numbers as well. Yep.
Video game numbers, playing off an injury. We'll see how hampered he is going into the game tonight, but I think he has to be in consideration. I think Chase Young is just an absolute animal. As a former offensive tackle, to play against that type of guy, to put up those type of numbers, 16 and a half sacks, and I sat out 2 games.
2 games.
I sat out 2 games. But guess what? The game that put me on notice is the team that I'm about to play tonight. 4 sacks, 6 TFLs. Think he's not motivated.
He's a problem.
Take it lightly.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you there, but I think if, for the sake of this presentation, send everybody. How much budget do you have for travel? Send, I think Jalen Hurts deserves to go.
That's who I was going to add.
Let him go just for the trip. Like what he's done for the game of college football, not just his own pedigree, but what he did when he was at Alabama, what example he set for both schools. I think he should go. All the people from Ohio State, Joe Burrow, like 5-6 people. Just let him go, man.
Let him all
throw Kyle Trask in there. Let me throw my gator in second string quarterback playing.
All right, Max is talking crazy now, but
you said invite everybody.
Yeah, half dozen. Let them go turn up in New York City before they
have a good old
semi. Yeah, man.
Why not? Why not?
Everybody.
Horse carriages in the park.
A guy that was in this conversation and has since been removed courtesy of an injury, and a really unfortunate one, is Tua Tagovailoa.
Sure.
And a very recent discussion surrounding his future I found very interesting. And we'll actually hear from him. He spoke with Kirk Herbstreit about potentially his decision on going to the next level at the NFL or remaining back in Alabama. And I thought what he had to say was extremely insightful as far as how he's calculating this decision.
When I kind of look at it, I look at it, if I come back, the risk is, what if I get hurt again? But the reward could be, maybe I jump back to the top of the charts, on the boards, for all these teams. Now you look at the other side of the spectrum, if I leave, the risk is, do I still go in the first round? Or, do I even make it to the second round? And I mean, these guys don't even know, if I can play with, the hip injury yet too. And then, I'd say the reward and all of that is, I'll be getting paid millions, but I mean, a lot of the money that I could have made, you can't make that money up now.
No, you can't. And real quick, LSU, officially your SEC champions. Joe Burrow getting interviewed post-game and everything. But to go back to Tua and his decision that he has to make, I just thought it was incredible that he's even, weighing out and publicly.
He's so transparent right there.
Publicly weighing out.
You don't get that transparency.
Millions of dollars is what's going through his mind. It's a very sound set of reasoning, and one that, look, man, that's incredibly impressive for a, 21, 22-year-old kid to kind of take on as far as the macro perspective that he has on this whole decision that he has to make.
Yeah, the maturity is unparalleled because that's essentially what it is. Everybody wants you to feel like, oh my gosh, I have to think about the team. But at the end of the day, from college to pro, and you have that talent level, you have to start thinking about yourself. That's why everybody wants to get on top of kids who sit out of bowl games. But that's what matters. It matters. My health going into the league determines
Jalen Smith being the prime example.
Prime example of that. And what do you see? Christian McCaffrey sitting out. What's he doing right now?
Correct. Exactly. Might be the first 1,000 guy in NFL history.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you have to appreciate that honesty, the clarity that he's giving you. There's a lot weighing on this kid, and that injury just spoke volumes about how your life is very fragile, especially within the sports world, because you're only as valuable as the service you can provide.
And that's not to understate what he values in the team that he's played on for his entire collegiate career.
Not just that. You talk about team. Remember, your family's the first team you've ever been on. So if you have the opportunity to get them straight
to put
for
them on
life, you've been in that position.
Yes.
Yeah,
right? And you're like, I'm going to the league.
Yes.
There's no question about it. Obviously, he was winning first round, second round stuff, but
the reason he's trying to come back is to play himself higher into the draft, right? He's not coming back like, no, I don't want to win.
People are projecting him from, tank for Tua, he's going first overall to now, he might fall to the middle of the late first, which is still getting bread.
Correct.
But the millies.
M's, regardless. And to be claro, M's, regardless.
You're the monopoly man, Mike.
Don't forget about your first team, your family. Get them right.
Just get them straight above all else. Let's move into the final to close this thing on out real quick. your player, as we close out 2019, going into 2020, wild. The best player, the most transcendent player you've seen over the past decade is, I'll start this bad boy off. For me, it was Johnny Manziel, right? This is a guy that had the Johnny Football moniker to go along with him. The plays, if you were to put together a compilation of plays that represented college football over the course of a decade, in my opinion, it feels like Johnny Manziel is probably going to show up on that tape a lot more than most people will show up.
That Alabama Bobble TD was
correct.
Iconic.
That one. Yeah, exactly. That was the one. That was the winner against that one. So this dude was just a wave in and of itself. Correct. And he just had everything going for
Drake, what?
Johnny Football, man. He was a wave.
Hey, you know what? And for me, I'm going to have to go Cam Newton. When you talk about the dual threat quarterback, you talk about the rivalry games, the biggest moments, that Iron Bowl game against Alabama and him just absolutely destroying them. But the player that had the flamboyance, that had the outward personality, that wasn't afraid to show you his emotions, and also could run you down and could also throw you through the air. He was FedEx before FedEx was really sponsoring guys. He could do it on the air and in the ground.
However you want.
And that's the transcendent player for me.
I saw your guys' pick, so I kind of went off the radar with this one. And at the start of the decade, I'm going Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers him from LSU. This was a guy, and you said transcendent, not best. He had a shortened college season because he got dismissed from LSU, but the 2 seasons he played, this man birthed a nickname. People knew him more by Honey Badger as they did by his government issued, and that's when you know you were doing something on a gigantic scale. This dude did it defensively. He was a Heisman finalist his true sophomore campaign, and defensive dudes don't get that invitation to New York City. They just don't. He did it with punt returns, kick returns. He was must-see TV on the defensive end of the ball.
I just want to say thank you.
Oh, yeah.
That's all SEC right there. The greatest conference in college football. In case you were wondering.
Let them know.
LSU, Texas A&M. I'll take the Auburn War Eagles /Tigers /Squatters or Plainsmen. They have so many different
talk your stuff, man.
Mascots.
One is the mascot, one is the battle cry. That's what one of the Auburn people.
There it is.
Still 3 different
mascot, battle cry. They TP their own property.
Clarification.
They clean it though.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go. You let Max talking stuff. Speaking of people talking their stuff, Harry Douglas been on one, and this is because everything that he had to say about that Georgia defense throughout the entire season. And I'll give him credit, right? Like the man said, look, they ain't playing nobody. This, that, and the third. When they run into some real ones, we gonna see exactly what happens. And yeah, Harry, look, you put up 37 today, like against the Georgia team that we all touted as the best defense in the land. And who am I to argue it?
Can't fight it. Can't fight it.
Not just that, but he's saying and tweeting all that from ground zero. This man lives in Atlanta, right?
Care.
He's saying that.
He don't care. He's probably walking through the bench, tweeting all that.
No question. All through the Georgia Bulldog fans, like, hey, do y'all appreciate this tweet? I just want to make sure. Can you spell check that for me?
Yeah, that boy there.
Elle Duncan has him blocked, reported, everything.
This has been the College Football Show. We appreciate you all joining us here on Twitter, YouTube Live, and the ESPN app. We have been presented by AT&T, and it's been a heck of a season. We wrap up your championship Saturday. For now, enjoy the ACC championship game tonight. For now, we'll say farewell.